Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Founders Chat with Castle of Our Skins. I am Anthony Green.
I'm Ash Gordon.
And today we are speaking with the amazing Dr. Danielle Daude, who is a musicologist, a writer, a researcher, violist, and founder of Berlin's The String Archestra. Dr. Daude received her first PhD magna cum laude in theater studies at the Freie Universität in Berlin, and her second PhD in musicology in 2013 at the Université de Paris with her thesis L'analyse opératique comme spectacle vivant, or operatic analysis as a living spectacle. Her research interests have taken her all around Europe, the Caribbean, and beyond. As a die-hard violist, she combined her performance interests with her research interests in 2016 to form the String Archestra. According to their website, the String Archestra was founded to empower ethnic minority musicians in classical music and to remind of the composers who have been erased from music history because of their ethnicity and gender. They were formed on the foundation of a quote by Dr. Daude, which is, "Classical music has always been composed, conducted, and played by people of color." Thank you so much, Danielle, for joining us. And I would like to start off this interview by asking you to just introduce yourself. Where are you from? Where are you now? And what's the story of your musical and creative background? And is there anything else you'd like to share with us?
Okay, thank you very much for having me today. So I'm Danielle Daude. I'm from Paris. My parents are Caribbean. There has French Caribbean diaspora. And I grew up in Paris. I studied first the violin and chamber music at Conservatoire National. And then I went to musicology. So after that, I went then to, I had my research work on operatic analysis. So after as you said, after I started with musicology, I wanted to have also the stage part of opera. That's why I changed to theater studies. So yeah, shortly, that's the story. And then I came 2000 to Berlin, actually for 1 year for my research on Kroll opera, and then I got stuck here. Yes, about your question about the music journey. This is a long journey, so I will share short information about this. So yes, in Berlin, I've been playing in a lot of different orchestra and experiencing, yeah, maybe we'll talk about it, very different experiences. And after this, I decided to found an ensemble with Black people and people of color. So it would be the short introduction of mine. Yes.
I would love to hear more about the founding of the String Archestra, and especially as a fellow violist, what were some of the musical experiences that you had engaged with that you felt were lacking to be able to create the String Orchestra? So share more, share the long story with us.
Yeah, okay. Well, I think I would not be the first person, and certainly not the last person, to say that every Black people and every people of color in Germany in classical music experience racism. So it's very clear. It's not a secret. It's a very clear thing here in German orchestras. And I experienced it. I was playing in an orchestra for 13 years, the same one, and then I got bullied. Basically, I got bullied because of racism, very racist violinists and partners. So I had the choice to get on court or to look forward and try something else. So I choose to just turn the page and do something else. That's how it started. At that same time, I met the first Black woman violinist in my entire time in Berlin. And we actually wanted to play together, just to play quartet. That was the very beginning. So to find other Black people playing quartet, I asked online. I made Umfrage, I would say in Germany. So I asked just about from social media, Facebook. It was 2016. Who would like to play with us? We are two Black women who would like to play some chamber music, and the results were so awesome. I got responses from Münster, Bremen, from trumpets, oboe, from a lot of people, so 100 and responses of, please, I want to go, I want to come, I would like to play with you. So for me, it was also a very positive thing to see that people want to play together from the situation that it's actually a very bad situation. There are a lot of musicians, Black and people of color, who are alone, and that were for me the first step. That okay, the people are there, we are just not connected. So I started with the responses I got from Berlin, because I'm based in Berlin, and we started with strings. That's how we started 2016, and then we got the people. That's how we started. Yes.
That is an incredible story. I recently watched a documentary about Audre Lorde, and when she spent her years in Berlin, there was a moment where she asked everybody of color to stay in a classroom that she had just finished giving a lecture to. And she asked the white people to leave. And she said, all right, people of color, I want you to tell me where your community is. And she started to ask the people of color in Berlin to find other Afro-German people, men and women, and to make a community. So you, I think, are the Audre Lorde of the classical musicians. This is such a momentous work that you're doing. So thank you so much.
Yeah, this is an honor to be compared to Audre Lorde. This is a totally high level here. Yes, I know also about the story of Audre asking for white students to leave, and for Black and people of color to stay.
It's such a powerful moment.
It's a very powerful moment. It's true. It's true. I don't know if I were so political when I started. I was just very tired of racist prejudice, and I just want to play with Black people and people of color. It wasn't so conscious when I started. I just wanted to have peaceful muscles.
Yeah,
that's how it started.
Yeah.
I was
The Black body in classical music is politicized against our will. So practically any decision that's made by Black people in classical music is a political act, even though it shouldn't be. But I digress. I would love for you to maybe talk about some of the challenges that you've faced in developing the string orchestra, especially with regard to programming and just other challenges that come along with running an ensemble.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say the first challenge is the scores, finding the scores and finding the parts. I would give some example. We wanted for 2 years, I think, we wanted to program a Japanese composer who from the 20th century, who was a lot of influence from Shostakovich, and Akutagawa is his name. And it was so difficult to get the score, to get the music, because it's not something you can just order online. Everything is fine. No, I had to have a lot of discussion with the Philharmonic from Tokyo, and also explain why we want to play this composer, because obviously nobody playing it. I actually had the rights for the full year 2017-18 to play this composer in Germany. So that gives you yeah, short introduction on how it can be when the composer is from the 20th century. Before, when composers are from the 19th or from the 18th century, still finding the score is still a big issue. So finding scores that are that you can read. For instance, we have this very well-known French composer, Chevalier de Saint-Georges. So you can find he's very well documented, but the music, how it is written, it's very difficult to read. So I was also thinking, so do I have to rewrite the music so everyone can read it, or what can I do with this very 18th century French writing? It's not easy to read. So it would be the first what I would think about. And the second challenge is, yeah, finances. Of course, finances. For everyone's finances. So we are not sponsored. We are, yeah, we are giving our concerts and we are booked from the people who want us, but we don't have any sponsored all over the year. We have projects and then we get booked. So this is something we wanted to work on in the next years. Yes, I would say this would be the two most important challenges from the string orchestra: finding the chord and the finance point.
I think we can definitely relate. We
Yeah.
Started in 2013, now entering our 8th season, and it's still music acquisition is difficult, and trying to explain with every Chevalier de Saint-Georges quartet how the 8th notes and the 8th rests are backwards, and then that should be a G natural, and wait a second, we're missing a note, and needing to involve more time and care after all of these centuries not having it engraved. And then also the finances, we it sounds like are very similar in that we're presented by other organizations or the audience, as you say, who want to have us perform here or perform here. But sort of despite all of that, and certainly the financial challenges, there's a lot of beautiful moments that we've experienced over our 7 going on 8 seasons. And I would love to hear some beautiful moments that you've shared, either with the musicians or in between rehearsals with the audience, anything that maybe even surprised you.
Well, of course, a lot of very beautiful moments. Thank you for asking that. This, there are so many. I don't know where to start. I would say the very first moment is when we had our first rehearsal here in this room, in my living room, and with 4 Black women playing that violin. And for me, it was just the first time in my life, and I'm not 20 anymore. So just to give you, yeah, how is it? So for me, it was wow. I would say this moment. And then we had we had a very special connection to our audience, because we are not in the classical world. So we are giving concert in places when people give also spoken word, or artists like poetry or jam session. It's not a classical word. So for a lot of people, it's very new what we are doing. So see Black people and people of color playing classical music is just okay, mind blowing for a lot of them. And when we had our very first concert, it was very crowded, very full. So people were just standing, and I can remember we had an encore. It was Vivaldi 4 violin concerts, and it was so very beautiful. It was very beautiful. The atmosphere. And it was a very loving and beautiful moment to share to each other with the audience. So I have this in my mind, but there are a lot of others. Yeah.
Yes, yes. It sounds so much that you are creating a community with your string orchestra, and you're inviting the exchange of these communal energies to pass between all of the people that are in the spaces in which you perform. And that is always a powerful exchange. I personally remember the first week that I spent my first significant time in Berlin doing my fellowship at Universität der Künste. And it was in that first week that you invited me to one of your concerts. And Florence Price was played. And I just remember drinking white wine and eating a slice of wonderful cake, thinking, I never thought I would hear Florence Price in Berlin being played by an orchestra of Black and brown people. My life is checked beautiful. So thank you for providing that very beautiful moment for me. So we will get back to the string orchestra, but you are our featured guest today. So I would love to move on and talk a little bit about your research experience. I know that you've done research on Beethoven and you've taught in the Caribbean. And I would just love to ask you, what have been some of your most favorite projects as an individual engaging in your own unique practice?
Yes. Wow. This is a very good question. So spontaneously, I would say there were a very intense moment of researching on Beethoven. I was giving actually lectures at the Humboldt Universität about unknown composers and then on Black composers. And I was actually looking for another information on Beethoven. I was actually having research between letters from Beethoven and Karl Amenda, who are very, very, very intense, very, very intense. So Beethoven got several depression when he couldn't have contact with Karl Amenda anymore. So that's why I suggest the hypothesis that Beethoven might be gay. So that was actually my first step. And looking for more biographical information about Beethoven, I had to read a lot of music colleges from basically from the US, because Germany is actually not possible to have different type of research. And then I for the first time I had this I had to read that a lot of musicologists had this hypothesis that Beethoven might be Black. For me, it was also what? Okay, so that for me was a great journey. It was a great journey to read all this archive, because this is well documented. Everything is there. It's just about a matter of interpretation. So for me, the journey of Beethoven were very, very, very intense. The teaching and also giving a lecture, not in the university, outside of the university. I have one situation, very concrete situation. It was for the Black History Month in 2017. I was invited by Philippa Ebene, great person from Berlin, by the way, who also organized a lot of events promoting and supporting Black and brown community in Berlin. So she were inviting me to talk about these views, these theses about Beethoven. And I had a lot of conversation with the audience. And it's of course a lot of new information for an audience, a German audience. What? No, what? But it was a lot of such moments. And I met actually two very now good friend of mine, and who is an opera director. And so we got in contact because of this lecture. So I also meet new people through my research. And yes, it would be the situation I was thinking about. There are more of them, but this one, yes.
Yeah, and when is Black History Month in Germany?
Oh, this is a good question. I think it depends a lot of who is organizing. So in time of Philippa Ebene were here, she was always organizing. in Werkstatt der Kultur in Neukölln. And then now there's also another an archive called EOTO for Black German people, who are also trying to organize more events, cultural events, not only music, but cultural events. And they might also organize a Black History Month, but I'm not updated, I have to say. So it's really depend on who is what. Yeah.
That's such an interesting concept to hear as someone who lives in America,
Yeah.
where it's in my state in Massachusetts, Juneteenth, which was when Texas became the last state to realize that emancipation had since happened, became a holiday. And this was maybe last week, 2 weeks ago. But in any case, Black History Month and Black Music Month and federal holidays related to American history and specifically around Blackness seems commonplace. So to hear that it's whoever is deciding at what point in which city is a very interesting and sort of humbling perspective for me to hear. And I wonder along that same vein, I, again, am in America. Anthony lives in the Netherlands. He's cat sitting somewhere. I don't know if it's also in the Netherlands. And Danielle, you're in Berlin. I wonder if you can help me and our audiences understand a little bit more about some of the climate that you've experienced, and then how to maybe change any current changes that you may be seeing as it relates to diversity in classical music. You certainly gave your personal story about yourself as a musician, but I wonder if you're seeing other trends that are promising, other things you would hope for.
Yes, I can see some changes. So when I started here around 2000, 2001, there were no conscious about race. I mean, there's still no conscious about race, but it's becoming more difficult to ignore it because the pressure is becoming more and more and more. What is happening now, and especially since April, I would say, it's that Konzerthäuser, so the concert hall, are just praising to be about diversity. They're it's just becoming marketing. So diversity, it's a word that a lot of institutions are talking about. But in the fact, there is nothing like this, which is very problematic. So they are making actually publicity about we are diverse and showing probably the only Black person or brown person struggling in the orchestra for years. And that's it. Actually, that's it. It's a very problematic situation right now. So along in Berlin, you have a lot of professional orchestra who got finances from the town and from the state. So it's public and private finances, but also public finances. And for me, it's very problematic to make publicity with diversity the way institutions are doing it right now, because it's just not the case. It's just not the case. And it's also very difficult to address these problematics in classical music. So that's the situation right now. There is someone, Edward Said, Edward Said and Barenboim, they made an academy together, which is now in Berlin. So they try to, but it's specific, they try to address a problematic, not of diversity, but more of Palestine and Israel playing together. So it's a beginning, but it's not about race. It's more about, let's try to play music together. So I would say it's their only try I can see right now. But everything else, concert house, Philharmonic, or opera houses, yes, it's something difficult to address.
Yeah. And that would make sense. So Edward Said, if I'm not mistaken, is the Egyptian philosopher, and Daniel Barenboim is Israeli conductor pianist. So them forming together a group would have the focus on bringing together different um, factions in the Middle East who are known to be enemies. I know that there's an organization in the United States, the Apple Hill Center for Chamber Music. They have a string quartet that also has this mission. They've toured the Middle East, and they often bring Israeli students and Palestinian students to the United States to play together. And it's a really beautiful, beautiful thing to see. I was witness of that when I was 16 years old. And I had no real conscious of the conflict. You know, I knew that the conflict existed, but I had no clue the full extent of the conflict until I became much, much older. But I wanted to ask you, so you were speaking a little bit about organizations in Europe, particularly in Germany, putting together these diversity efforts. Do you view this as a trend or as something honest? Or do you think there's something in between, and that hopefully one day justice will eventually prevail within these orchestras and ensembles?
Oh, this is a difficult question. Well, as I said, the pressure is becoming more and more from activists, from people all over the states who tell we have a racism problem in Germany. So it's not only classical music, so it's a whole movement. And activists also get more to be listened or by European parliaments. So when this got to Europe, so Germany have to, you know, get pressure from bottom and up, so from both sides. That's why they are trying to, but I wouldn't say it's a trend. I would say the institution, they see they have to do something, but they try to, you know, do the minimum of this. But there are also some good news. I mean, there are not only my orchestra. There are, in Europe, you have Janacek in London, of course. In France, it's more difficult, but you have in France an orchestra called Divertimento, and the director is Zaya Ziwani. She's Algerian and director. She's also making a lot of cooperation with Algerian musician. But France is very special case because there is no color. They are totally colorblind universalists, so it's special, very difficult to address anything about race, and especially in classical music in France. So in Germany, I would say institutions see that it's, I wouldn't say it's a trend. I would say, okay, they see they have to move, but they move slowly. So slow as possible. So that's the situation right now, I would say.
Right. I can see that as well too, on this side of the pond, with a lot of vocalism, a lot of solidarity statements, a lot of words, and then, you know, actions, waiting on some actions to take place. But I'm wondering, and this may sound like a strange question, maybe you've thought of this already, but thinking of future, and specifically Afrofuturism and Sun Ra's, the String Archestra, when Anthony told me we're going to speak to Danielle about this, and you know, doing marketing, Sun Ra of course came up first in my search, and I was like, he's not around. How is she connected with this? I wonder if there is any tie, if there's any nod that you're intentionally, unintentionally sort of contributing, relating to Afrofuturism.
Oh, this is a good one. This is a very good one. Well, first of all, I'm basically a fan of Sun Ra. That's how it started. And Also with the orchestra, Sonora and the orchestra, creating this string orchestra, the A is also the quotation of the arc is also like a bridge. So it's they had many meanings. It's not only sunrise, it's also, you know, we want to share and being a bridge between a lot, between past and present, between forgotten and well known, and a lot of more issues. About specifically about the Sunra and the Afrofuturism, we are working on it. Actually, we are working on it, and the next season would be about promoting composer from the continent. So we have a composer, Fela Sowande from Nigeria, and also promoting the new aesthetic design, and Afrofuturism is one of this. So it's difficult for me to talk about this because it's a work in progress, and I don't see Afrofuturism as a movement in the US, but also as a global movement from Black diaspora, also in Europe. And we're still working on this to manage the new movement of very young people also, and to connect this with our next program from West and North and South African composers. So I could tell more in maybe 2 months.
We'll follow up. That sounds very interesting. Yeah.
Yes, yes. This is extremely exciting, and I'm looking forward to attending as many of these performances as I possibly can. So thank you. So it is now August, and the pandemic has been inflicted upon the Western world since around February, March. I'm wondering how this situation has affected the string orchestra and any programming that you had planned. But I'm also wondering how you've been getting through these past months, and if you've come up with anything new during this time that you probably wouldn't have come up with if the pandemic hadn't happened. And what are your future plans with the string orchestra outside of this wonderful Afrofuturism program?
Yeah, very, very nice question. Yes, I would say the pandemic had a huge influence on our plan, on our objective and goals. So before it, I was planning the next season as we always planned, and during this time, I rethink everything. So I was first we couldn't rehearsal, we couldn't have anything, like a lot of musician, like a lot of classical and musician for the same situation for us. And I tried to use this time to rethink the whole concept of the string orchestra. So what we're doing now for the concert, we will stream, then we'll have so small session and streaming session, which is for us completely new, so have a lot of technique. We also decided to be more active on social media with short films and photos. That's something that we didn't make until before. And also we're also thinking about education program. So we were thinking a lot before, especially with Sarah Martin, the concert master. And during this time, I could have more, not only ideas, but also more, okay, how can we do it as really a full part of our program, like education program. So like lecture, education for children, and then the concert. So different parts of the string orchestra. So that would say, so yeah, we have new goals and new objectives, and it's very exciting, I would say.
It sounds very exciting, and I wonder how we can stay in touch, how our audiences can stay in touch about all of those exciting things coming up. So social media, like, share, tweet, newsletters, all of those things. Can you just let people know how they can follow along?
Well, we're on Instagram on the String Orchestra. We have 2 accounts. So the String Orchestra on Instagram, Facebook. What do we have? Our website. I can share everything here.
Yes,
So
and
it would be
spelling it since.
I'm sorry. The the string STRIENG and orchestra. Actually, like orchestra, but with an A. Everything small. The String Orchestra. So you can find us actually on Instagram, on Facebook, and our website. We also have a website with some medium and a small interview. So yes.
It seems like you have a new website recently.
Yeah, we're uploading some new information. So yes.
Well, it
we're
looks
working on
beautiful. It really does.
Oh, thank you very much. I'll tell Sarah, who is doing a lot of work. So special thank to Sarah Martin. Yes.
Excellent. Yes. And was Sarah the first woman that you connected with way back in 2016 to play quartet?
Good question. She was the second one. The first one was Arlena.
Oh.
The first one I met was Arlena, who is actually having a break, and the second one was Sarah. So we meet pretty from the first beginning, and she's been the concert master since the first moment.
Yeah.
So very supportive.
I say hello if she remembers. We played. I can't remember in which Chineke or Gateways or some situation, but please tell her I say hello.
Yes, I will. Yeah, wonderful person. Wonderful person. I'm very blessed with a musician also. I don't know how it's happened, but people who are coming have so warm and so engaged in these projects. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm really blessed.
Well, I think it's because you yourself are so warm and so generous. And it's been amazing getting to know you these past couple of years because you're doing so much and you do everything with such grace and such knowledge. So thank you so much for being part of this chat. And to our audiences out there, sadly, this is the penultimate Founders Chat. Next week will be our final Founders Chat video in the series. So please tune in next week where we'll be speaking with Pamela Coates of Vivatza, who is an ensemble also based in Germany, but not in Berlin. So find out where she's based next week. And if you are watching this and you want to see it again, or you want to see some of our past videos, then you can go to our website, www.castleskins.org, and you can rewatch this. You can watch all of our videos. You can binge watch everything that we've been doing since March, because we've put out quite a number of incredible video content, speaking with some of the movers and shakers of today. So tune in next week, and thank you so much. Bye.